Hello, good evening and welcome. All public institutions have to pass their budget and plans through Parliament for approval and review. It's meant to promote accountability and transparency. Unfortunately, parliamentarians are rather busy people when they are not resolving issues, and the people... Don't worry, my teleprompter guy is moving faster than you. But basically what I'm talking about today is the PAC, the PAC, Public Account Committee. We've heard the idea behind it is very good. Accountability and transparency. But then one would ask, ever since this institution was created, have they been given the powers to make arrests? Have they been given the powers to retrieve any of the monies lost back to the state? If not, then you ask, is it economical to keep them? Because I bet you need to give them allowances, you need to feed them, you need to water them. And if they indeed are not going to get any money back to the state, what is the state doing? And today we're going to sit down and have a discussion. We're not going to blame anybody, but we're going to find out what is the best way forward for the state. Because you know what? All those monies lost, there isn't one that has got a political sign on it. It is Ghana's money, yours and mine. It could build a hospital which you can go to and I can go to. Which is the best way to get the public account to account for the money they have spent? My name is Nana Sakwao and this is PM Express. When I come back, I introduce my guest. Hello and welcome back to the show. And today we're talking about reviewing public accounts. And as I said in my intro, the idea behind it is good. The spirit behind it is good. But if it's not yielding any result, one then asks, why do we continue? Or which is the best way to continue? If the old ways is not working, which is going to be the best way to do it? And with me to discuss this issue in the studio from my extreme left is Mr. Koshi Kedem, Chairman of Forum for Former MPs.
Thank you.
And then my immediate left is Osei, MP for Tiwa East constituency and also member of the PAC. So she's in the thick of things and she can explain to us what is going on. And so Abna, I will start with you. Now my first point is that, what is the point? We're going to interview all these big shots will come and sit in front of you. And funny enough, they're all honest. Yeah, we blew the money. Yeah, we sold it. Well, we don't know how much we sold it for, everything. And then they go, and then the next one comes. Oh, yeah, we sold it. We sold it too expensive. We sold it too low. And then they go. So it's just like, your father buys ice cream and he's going, and you're just sitting there thinking, I can't have it. So what's the spirit behind it?
I would say that the PAC, as a committee, tries to, our work is to see to it that government funds that are given to these organizations and government entities are spent judiciously. So we come in after it's been spent. And then we try to unveil some of the things that the public doesn't know. So I think the PAC one tries to let Ghanaians know exactly what goes on in these government organizations and government institutions. One. So it brings, into light what goes on, what happens. And if you get an accountant coming to sit in front of the whole Ghana, being told that you failed to do your work, you failed to. I think even that alone is good enough. But that is not to say that sanctions and other things that are supposed to be prescribed after everything shouldn't happen. It does happen. So I think for now, the PAC is doing very well. We are interviewing people, and they are telling us, like you are telling us, oh, they failed to do this. Yes, they failed to do all those things. After everything, we are going to give our recommendations. We are going to lay our recommendations on the floor of Parliament. Parliament is going to debate. If Parliament accepts the recommendations, it will go ahead and pass them. We'll give it to the Auditor General to implement. Where a criminal offense has been committed, we'll hand it over to the Attorney General for the Attorney General to also do its part. So it's not like we just receive them, they say what they have to say, and that is it. There are other aspects to it. Where there's a criminal offense has been committed, it will go to the Attorney General, and then the Attorney General also do its part. Where it has to go to the Auditor General for recommendations, they will also do their part. But I think everything boils down to the government. The government should have the willpower to enforce the recommendations that are accepted by Parliament. And if that is done, I believe it will go a long way to help check some of these things and bring the efficiencies that we are all looking forward to in the public sector.
Koshi, I'll come to you. Because of our attitude as citizens, we are very, I don't know if it's selfish or blasé, we don't care too much. If the thing is not directly in our skin, we don't care. And I think people in positions have become shameless opportunists. Because they know I can sit there clearly and say that, yep, I misused the money. I'll go back into my office. I'll still have my driver, my car, my pay. So even the urge to do good is not there because we, the civil society, are not policing them enough. And so next year they will come and probably even give us a worse account because they know that, well, of course, last year they went scot-free. Why don't, what's the urgency?
Well, first let me start by saying that the Public Account Committee is to perform a constitutional duty.
Mm-hmm.
The committee is there to perform a check and balance function. Every year we have a budget. And
the check, I agree, but the balance, I don't.
Wait a minute. And monies are allocated to various departments and ministries.
Mm-hmm.
Now, according to the Constitution, after every year, there should be an audited report which should be submitted to Parliament. Parliament should debate this report, you see, and then make recommendations. Now, the Public Account Committee is more or less the committee which represents Parliament in looking at these accounts, submits a report to the House, and it is debated. Now, after it is debated, recommendations are made. It is no longer the duty of the public accounts. It is the executive which should implement the recommendations.
Mm-hmm.
So, if anything at all, Public Accounts Committee has done this work. But my only problem with the accounting system is that most of the audited reports which are brought to Parliament are what we may call historical accounting. Historical accounting in the sense that they don't touch the current accounts. You see, there are some accounts about 10 years before they are being looked at. Today, for instance, there was this organization which said that we are now looking at the account of the 8 years. Within these 8 years, all those who might have committed this, either they are dead,
left,
or they have retired, or they are no longer to be found. So is it just an exercise in futility? That is my major issue.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if that's the case, if we are doing this historical account, where accounting is not properly done, because the witnesses may not even be there, you see?
Mm-hmm.
And then those who have committed offense, they are no longer there. So how are these reports to be implemented? So I have always insisted that there should be a cutoff point. If possible, we concentrate on current accounts and we hold these people who have committed offenses squarely responsible for their action. But I don't think that is the strategy of the Public Accounts Committee, because they can pick and choose which account they should examine. You see? So there's a difficulty. The difficulty is government, has it got the political will to implement the reports? That's number one. Now, it has always been suggested that because of the complexity of the situation, special courts should be established to look at this report and bring the culprit to book. That has not been done up to now. Then, it is not as if it is only government which should take action. Because if you look at the Constitution, Article 187(6), it said, Parliament itself can establish a committee to look into its findings and see what can be done about it. So, I mean, the leeway is there for government to implement. But so far, I haven't heard any government in Ghana which has implemented the report of Parliament, Public Account Committee. That is my problem.
So, Abba, you wanted to react, yeah?
Yes, my honorable colleague said that normally it's, in quotes, dead account, historical account. But there's a Financial Regulations Act which says that after the 3 months after the year end, that is when you are supposed to prepare your accounts and then give it to the Auditor General. And then if I can read this article in the Constitution, Article 187, Clause 5, it says, the Auditor General shall, within 6 months after the end of the immediately preceding financial year to which each of the accounts is mentioned in Clause 2 of this article relates, submit his reports to Parliament. So it also gives, you need time to prepare it. Mm-hmm. So we've realized that most of these organizations are breaking this law. And yet government continues to give them its subventions. If I don't prepare my accounts on time, if I fail to do this duty that I'm supposed to do, why should I be given subventions? Yes, the government gives them subventions. So they don't care. They'll flout this rule and know that at the end of the year, I'll still get my subventions. So that is also part of the problem. Mm-hmm. People are not preparing their accounts early. Yeah. Yet, they are getting their subventions. If I know I'm supposed to do something to get B, A to get B, and I don't do A, but I still get B, would I be bothered to do A? No, I won't. So this is also part of the problem. If they continue to get their subventions, even though they don't prepare, they don't fulfill this constitutional mandate and this financial acts, I mean, whose fault is it?
I mean, I like to break things down very small. So if let's say I gave my house help 50 cedis, I look, go to the market and buy X, Y, Z, and she doesn't come back with the goods or the money, and she comes back for money, I need to at least find out, wait, hold on, yeah. the first 50 cedis I gave you,
what did you do with it?
What did you do with it? So on what basis do you get the extra money?
Yeah, but that's a baffling
this
question.
Is one of the
challenge. Yeah. What the issue she has raised is so pertinent to the situation. Now, every year there should be an audited account. Most of the departments, they don't do it. Every year there should be an annual report. They don't do it. And I think it's a responsibility of government, not Parliament, government, to make sure that these things are done. It's not Parliament. Parliament, as for Parliament, it sits there. But, okay, you can exonerate Parliament completely because Parliament has an oversight responsibility over the ministries and departments.
But not until they give the accounts to the Auditor General for the Auditor General to lay it in Parliament. We don't have direct control. You understand?
Go and tell them
yes.
to bring the report.
It's the Auditor General who has to do that. They will have to give it to the Auditor General. The Auditor General, per the Constitution, was within 6 months after the end of the year, they will look at it and then bring it to Parliament. So Parliament cannot go directly to these organizations and ask them to give them their accounts. They first will have to be audited by the Auditor General before it comes to Parliament.
But there's been certain cases which, obviously is been aired out open and it doesn't sound right. Can the police or the CID take up, said, look, this didn't sound right, so I'm going to investigate it, or do they need a recommendation from somebody to say, look, go and speak to these guys because they supplied some cars and nobody knows where the cars are, find out what happened to the case? What is the procedure? Because some of them don't sound right to us.
You are right. You are right. Sometimes it just doesn't sound right. Normally, when we have cases like this, sometimes, since the standing orders gives us the power of the high courts, all the committees, standing order 155, if with your permission, I'll read.
Yeah.
For the purposes of effectively performing its functions, each committee, that's parliamentary committee, shall have all such powers, rights and privileges as are vested in the High Courts of Justice or a justice of the High Court at a trial in respect of enforcing the attendance of witnesses and examining them under oath, affirmation or otherwise, and compelling production of documents. So if we are not satisfied with anything, we have the mandate to ask them to come and also answer or to clarify things for us. So,
but you have enough powers there then?
Yes, we do. We do, and we exercise those powers. We exercise those powers. But it's just that at the end of the day, we write our recommendations and then we lay it on the floor of Parliament if the recommendations are accepted.
No, but with High Court powers,
yes.
Okay, I'm sure you should have powers to say, no, you have to bring this money back.
Not directly. I mean, you can't do it that way. Where it's a criminal offense, it will have to go through the Attorney General, for the Attorney General to do that part of it. Where it's a recommendation that needs to be implemented, we give it to the Auditor General, and then the Auditor General through,
So, because you see, that's where the difficulty is. Because being immoral is not a crime. If I came and said, well, I used half of the budget to do a party for my staff, he hasn't committed a crime. But you and I know that it's clearly so wrong. So then he has to walk free.
No, you have committed a crime. Now, if money is allocated for a particular head, and you are using that money for another function, it's not allowed.
No. I mean, normally, the whole institution gets a budget.
No, but
which they're not even going to tell you what happened anyway.
The issue I want to emphasize is that is the implementation of the report of the PAC. I think that's the crux of the matter.
We will get there.
Because since the first Parliament, the Public Accounts Committee has been coming out with reports. And what I'm saying is that I've not seen any government since 1992 which has implemented any report of the PAC.
So, but you go to 82, but even in the previous Parliament,
yes.
I never heard anything. I don't know if there's any story. I mean, i.e. Liman or Buzia, I've never heard anything. I don't know if they were there then.
So that is what you should emphasize. Whether it's a historical accounting or whatever it is, the Public Accounts Committees have been coming out with their findings. What do we do with those findings? And I'm saying that because of the complexity of the whole thing, it was decided that a special court should be established to look into this. Where is that special court?
But this will come from the legislature, MPs, and it's
No,
MPs that...
not from the legislature, from the executive. You understand?
So why has anybody proposed it in Parliament that, listen, there's no need to send us next year to go and sit down to look into these accounts because nothing will happen until we do this? It has to come from Parliament.
No, I mean, the Public Account Committee is doing its constitutional duty.
No, that now is becoming, yes, Abraham.
Let me come in here. It was through the revelation of, through PAC, that we found out about these judgment debts and those things. And through that, the government has set up a special, judgment debts court or something like commission to oversee these things. So I believe that we will get there with time. Because through this...
How long will it take us to get there?
Yes, but we have done something for now.
The sole commissioner is also... Now it's two ice creams. So, right, we have the PAC saying, this money is lost. Yeah. And the judgment day guys also tell this money is lost. And the state is asking, are we ever going to get a penny back from all this money that's lost? Because history doesn't tell us so.
How do we know that the recommendation of the sole commissioner will be implemented?
one is, I think, is up to the executive, like you just said. It's up to the executive to have the willpower. Like the sole commissioner said, we should go and retrieve monies from it. It's not been done. It's nobody can just get up and say, I'm going to. It's up to the executive to enforce that. You understand? So if the executive has the willpower, like you are saying, no government has been able to do that. But I think it's time. I mean, we started. Once we start it, I mean, other people are also concerned about the way we are misusing money. Because I believe that if we try to, I mean, close some of these loopholes and then try and enforce some of these recommendations, people will sit up, and the government can also save some money to put into other more important projects than it's going into people's pockets and they not being able to account for it.
Because I find that the general public are so fed up or immune that I'm sure even if you told them tomorrow that, look, 10 billion was used to buy a mobile phone, they'll say, hey, again, and they'll just move. It's just over and over, and that's the point where we're going to. Is the park not running the risk of losing its respect? Oh, there they go again.
No, why are you all the time emphasizing the park? The park does its work. What we are telling you is that the park have been coming out with its recommendations. It is up to the executive to implement the recommendations. So why is your emphasis on the PAC?
Because I feel that for next year, whoever is elected to go and do this, she said no, unless you go and arrest or do something in which the last 20 years we have brought, there is no point in us going to sit down. I think there should be some demonstration like that.
Separation of powers and duties. The Constitution says that this is the procedure. Audited accounts should be submitted to Parliament. Parliament should debate them. The PAC should issue a report on this thing for the House to debate.
And we've done that for the last, since 92.
So let us emphasize that. And I'm telling you that we have gone beyond lamentation. It has been suggested that a special court should be established. Why are we not establishing that special court?
Then that buttress my point to say that, assuming next year I was chosen to go to park, I say, listen, I'm not going to sit down unless ABCD is put in place, so that at least if I bring you a recommendation, you can act. Otherwise, we're now wasting the state money double. We have GTV there, we have to pay, and we obviously have to pay Abna to sit there. She's not Red Cross. So we pay her, we pay TV, and then she comes to tell us, oh yeah, all those monies are lost. That's double loss. So I am saying that members of parliament should revote to make sure that, yes, the Constitution says we should go there, but you prove to us that if we come back and tell you that XYZ, you will do ABC.
No, it doesn't work like that. And I'm telling you that the Constitution has given specific powers, functions to Parliament to perform.
Does the Constitution go further to say that you should act on the reforms, or it doesn't say? I don't know.
Well, the Constitution says Article 187(6) says that Parliament on its own can set up a committee to review the findings. No. But Parliament too is not doing what the Constitution has said. See?
But it's the same parliamentarians that are there, as members of PAC.
No, but the situation is, to me, is very serious.
It is.
It
is. And why am I calling for a revolt?
And it appears as if people go there, misuse government funds, and they go scot-free. They go to sleep. Because
you guys are not going to revolt.
No, I think it all boils down to enforcing the recommendations.
Yeah,
like this very 2 days ago, Ghana Atomic Energy came. For 4 years, they hadn't undone their accounts.
Look at that.
And they were receiving subventions, all right. So this time, our chairman said he was going to recommend that not until, they have started submitting their accounts, but not until other institutions submit their accounts. They should not be given subventions. We will only write it. We will take it to the floor of Parliament. It will be debated. If it's accepted, they will go ahead, and it's up to the executive to implement this. If an organization comes in and at the end of the year or the beginning of the year, they have to receive subventions. They haven't submitted their accounts. If you don't give them anything, if their workers don't get paid, if things don't go on well, definitely the workers will revolt, and it will force the accountant or whoever is responsible to sit up and do what it's supposed to do. But if you write that, okay, do this, do that, and then it goes to the executive and nothing happens, we PAC cannot do anything. We have finished our part of the constitutional mandate, which is to do this, that, and that, and we have done it. So it's up to the executive to have the willpower to implement some of these things. If you implement some of these things and the workers don't get paid, things are not being done, definitely they will force the accountant or whoever is responsible to do what he or she is supposed to do.
So they get the money.
So they get the money. So, I mean, it all boils down to enforcing.
That recommendation you are making, how constitutional is it? How legal it is? It has no constitutional basis.
Because you have broken, you have broken a regulation where you are supposed to submit your accounts to the Auditor General 3 months after the year end. You haven't done that. So on what basis should government look on and say, I'm giving you another money?
Yeah, but should government wait for 4 years?
Pardon?
I say, should government or parliament wait for 4 years?
That is why we are saying that moving forward,
for people to submit their account?
No, moving forward.
Or not to submit their account?
Moving forward, if this is done to even one organization, I believe it will have an impact.
No,
moving forward, what has been done already, all the errors committed in the past. But moving forward, otherwise we can never move forward. But moving forward, if it should be down to at least one organization, I tell you, people will sit up.
I mean, so I think it's fair. What do you think?
No, I think it's fair. It's not a matter of being fair or not. Is it constitutional? Is it
well,
legal?
they've already broken the constitution.
Yes.
Because they haven't submitted.
You haven't submitted.
How do you even know that?
You have not submitted, but the constitution...
Taxes are hard-earned taxes.
Listen, the constitution does not tell us what should be done to organizations who do not submit their accounts. There's nothing that...
There are penalties in the acts. In the Financial Act and the Financial Administration Act. Yeah, there are penalties. Yeah. So if you don't submit, they are laid down penalties. So like it is up to us to enforce those things. So if you recommend those things and you enforce those things, at least to one organization, I believe it will have an impact, I'm telling you.
No, that particular organization...
No, I'm saying just to any... Let's say we start with one organization.
What I'm asking you, look, have you submitted? Because
any department or organization has a sector ministry. What is that sector ministry doing? Because these things, the reports are to be submitted to the minister who will submit the thing to Parliament, isn't it?
No, to the Auditor General. And then
to Parliament, right? Finally to Parliament.
Yeah.
Do you understand? So a whole sector minister will wait for 4 good years for a department under it not to submit any auditor report for 4 years.
You know, at the beginning of the program, Nana Ansakwa said something like, we feel that we don't own it. We feel it's not ours. So we don't really look out for these things. Like he said, if you really have a company and you know this company is yours, you want to run the company and run it well, every day, every time, whatever you are supposed to do to see to the effective running of this company, I believe you do it. But we are so detached from, it's not our money. Well, whatever we do, at the end of the day, we'll still get what we are supposed to get. So I can also put part of the blame on the part of management. It looks like management is detached from the financial function. Otherwise, why would you sit down as the head of the organization, sit down for several years, the organization is not submitting its accounts to the Auditor General, and then you feel everything is okay. Let's just move on.
The money is enough. The money, because you might even need more money. It's very serious, as you said earlier. Come next year, this guy will still have his job.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah. But you see, there's no way he should still be in his job. That must be an immediate dismissal.
But I would like us to zone in on the implementation of the PAC report.
And these are some of the things where you need to shock some people. Sack some people, stop some pay from some people.
There was an accountant from surgeons and colleges of surgeons and physicians, and our chairman has asked that he be brought, because he's committed so many. I don't know how to describe it. Yes, he said we were told he's been taken back to the accountant and the auditor accountant general's office. So we've asked that he come and then explain some of the things to us. Because you don't mess things up somewhere and then move to another organization thinking that in the same government sector, once you mess things up here, you can go somewhere else. So like you are saying, if we put these things in the recommendations, that such a person who has committed these serious offenses should be brought to book, or should, because the Financial Regulations Act, gives us directions on how to go about these things. So if maybe, I'm not saying he should be dismissed, but if we follow the recommendations based on what is in the Financial Regulations Act, if we start implementing these things, I believe it will go a long way. I'm telling you, because we have not started, people will say, oh, this is a public sector, it won't work. But if we should start with at least 1, 2, and they see that the reports of a PAC are being implemented very well, it will go a long way to change attitudes.
You are talking about departments not submitting their audited account for so many years. My concern is, and I would like to repeat it, my concern is, what do we do with the reports submitted by the Public Account Committee?
It all boils down to implementation.
Exactly.
Implementation. So
why is government not implementing the recommendation of PAC?
The willpower to do that.
Because civil society is not angry. We don't care. We won't revolt. And government is such that there's a huge chunk of all these guys have to be elected by the executive. So it's just like me, I go home and my wife and my children, the money I gave them to go to the market, well, they bought a few more tomatoes than necessary. What am I going to do? Chuck them out of the house, snap on the top of the back, and let's all live together. So, it becomes very difficult, the way the government structure is, to go back and, use a cane to beat your own people. And I think that's why, historically, we haven't been able to punish anybody. Because these are your own people you put in places and they've watched and misbehaved. I don't know if you have another association.
No, the other suggestion I have is not a new one. And I've mentioned it several times. Let us have a special court.
But if I have the special court, then it means these guys are going to be arrested. The thing is, I don't want them arrested. That's why it hasn't been implemented.
Who doesn't want them to?
Whichever government is in power at the time the report comes, you tend to find out that a majority of the people concerned are related to you. So if you crack the whip, you need to crack the whip on everybody. So then you might as well not crack the whip. And again, I say, as Ghanaians, we are very laid back. So we are not even angry at executive for cracking the whip. So let's move on. Next year, we have another committee.
So you are saying that this is a national attitude which we should accept?
No, which we should change.
We should change.
It's a national attitude which we should change. And I'm saying that, like not paying this subvention, this subvention, or calling this accountant back and sacking him or something, people then realize that, hey, maybe things are moving.
But do you know the implication of not paying the subvention? Because people are on salaries, right?
Yeah.
People have to be paid.
And that's what you need.
Organizations will have to function.
Yes.
So if you don't give the subvention, is it the person who committed the offense? Is it the one being punished, or the whole establishment?
Well, if it
doesn't... You see, it's more complex than you think.
It is complex.
It's a complex.
Now, what I'm saying is that... They should all own a bit of it. Even the driver should own a bit of the company.
What I'm saying is that we should find a means of implementing the PAC recommendations.
Let me take a break here. We have to find a way of making the PAC recommendations work. Everybody is coming there. They are doing their work. They are sitting from morning till evening. Abna has been sat from morning till evening. And you know what? She's taking time out of her day to come here to educate us. And that's what I call, a long day's work. Now, she's going to do all this and then come up with the paper and say, listen, XYZ is doing something wrong, so go and do something about it. We take it and say, well, thank you very much, Abna. Your work is done, and don't do anything. We're coming back after the break and find out what do we do with these reports. Hello and welcome back. We are discussing reviewing public accounts. And after it's all been reviewed and the recommendations have been given to government or executive, they seem to just file it, put it on the shelf and forget about it. However, the money is not theirs. It's for you and it's for me. We are at the moment, run out, the short of hospital beds. There's not enough water to go around, even in Accra. There isn't enough energy to go around as a state. there isn't enough schools to go around. You know, the statistics say that there are about 4,000 JSS schools. And then when they finish, they're all looking for a place in only 800 SS schools. So even if half of them failed, which, you know, you hope that plenty fails so that you don't have a headache, you still have a headache. And then there's this guy who's saying that, oh yeah, I lost that money. Oh, I moved office. Oh, I forget to do the account. Should we just sit back and say, well, it's okay, or we'll try again next year? I think something has to be done. So my question goes to Abna. Abna, since you have spent your precious time on this case, I mean, what can you do breaking the norm a bit to make sure that, no, my recommendations, at least 10% has to be looked into?
Well, I believe that after the auditors give their they come up with the management issues. What we've realized for the past 4 or 5 days that we've been having these sittings with them, it's like they are now implementing what the auditors recommended in their management issues, like keeping very good logbooks, because if you come and sit there and then something as little as you not keeping your logbook, and because of that, I'm costing the nation about 160,000 Ghana cedis unaccounted for vouchers or something like that. It's bad enough. So I think with when they write their management issues and then they give recommendations, they are also following it up, because they know that very soon they will appear before the PAC again, and then the PAC will ask them if they implemented some of the things that the Auditor General asked them to implement. So I believe that slowly, even if we are hoping that our recommendations will be enforced this time, and this time, because I believe it will go a long way to help the government, one, reduce the amount of money that it's borrowing.
A long way.
Yeah, it will go a long way to help them. If we are able to block these loopholes, it will go a long way. If first the government is borrowing 100, and because of these blockages,
23%.
These blockages, yes, we are able to cut it to 50. I believe it will serve the government and purpose. So, I mean, this time we are going to go all out and urge the government to have the political will to also enforce the recommendations that we are going to come out with. And I believe if the government does it, it will go a long way to help and then reduce the deficit. Because you sometimes, like a typical organization like Ghana Railway, the minister comes in to say that we are paying, we have 2,000 employees, but the actual people that they need to work on the ground is around 200. But the government hasn't got the willpower to dismiss the 1,800 people. And yet the government is spending close to 70% of its revenue on wages.
And there's 1,000,
yes,
just not doing anything.
Yes, not doing anything, yet they are being paid. I mean, working, paying for nothing.
Benevolent state.
Yes. So you understand. So if we put these recommendations in our reports, and then we take it to the floor of Parliament, and they accept, we debate, and then it's accepted, we will urge the government to this time go all out and try and enforce these things. I believe if you cut 1,800 workers out of your payroll, it will serve you some good. It will serve you some good. And I know it is not just Ghana Railways. There are several other organizations who are also going through these things.
I know toll is also
try, that is it. We
workers.
cut it, in all these sectors, it will go a long way to reduce, the amount of money the government is spending on wages and salaries, so that the government can get monies to do the other things that we are all hoping and wishing that it will come to pass, like building more schools. I need more secondary schools in my constituency. I need a modern-day hospital in my constituency. So if the government gets
money towards it.
Yes, we need money towards these things. So if government can free money, that not that they have been earned. Money it's like free, doling out money for free, because they are not doing anything. You're telling me, in actual fact, it's just 200 people that who are supposed to do the work, and yet you have 2,000 people.
Wow.
So if we write in our recommendations that this and that, so if you can please look at these things and then pay them off, and then try and save some money to, free, put in other sectors, I think it will go a long way to help not just, the government, but the whole Ghana.
See, that is not, for me, that is not my problem.
Okay.
Now, if workers are there, even if they are redundant, and they are being paid legitimately, legally, that is not my problem. My problem is that the audited reports submitted to Parliament, which are debated, and report issued, government is not implementing the report. That is my problem.
We'll get
so we may have 200 or 2,000 workers, but if they are being paid legally,
for nothing being done.
That's definitely not
also
acceptable.
Because they also add up to the cost of personal emoluments in the account that will be presented to us.
No, that's not in the preview of the PAC.
Nobody can recommend that you cut down your labor, your workforce.
We can recommend that.
To cut down your workforce.
If you increase, government gives you a subvention of 100,000 Ghana cedis, and then you come up with, an expenditure of 200,000 Ghana cedis, you have a deficit of 100,000 cedis, and you think the PAC cannot recommend to the government that, since the minister herself said at the PAC sitting that the government has 2,000 workers, but in actual fact, it is just about 200 people that they need. And you're saying the PAC cannot recommend that the 1,008 be, properly laid off, and to save the government some money. You think it's not the...
You see, we are not talking about saving money.
It's a recommendation. The recommendation comes in many forms.
It comes in many forms because as we are recommending, we are trying to block loopholes as well.
We are talking about a budget.
Yeah.
Every year, ministries and departments submit budget. Now, if they submit a budget for 2,000 workers, and they are giving the money for 2,000 workers, and the money is properly disbursed, you understand?
Yeah.
It means that there is no offense committed.
Yes and no.
For nothing being done?
Yes and no.
Well, no, if you want to look at it that way, it means that many of the organizations we have or department we have, they will have to sack most of their...
Of course, and Vodafone
but that is not
to sack them per se, but to lay them
but
off
if you don't pay them,
properly.
It means
and
that
for the government to stop spending
them.
70% of our revenue on worker salaries. And meanwhile, most of them are there not doing anything. It's like we are doling out money for free.
You can't have 2,000 people running 2 trains,
no,
you?
but you see, then it means that we are not understanding the function of the Public Accounts Committee.
No, I think, this is
just they increase their cost as well.
No.
And at the end of the day, they bring a deficit on their accounts.
No, what deficit? Look, if you make a budget, if you present a budget to Parliament for approval for 2,000 workers, and they give you that money, and you spend that money properly on the 2,000 workers,
you haven't done anything wrong.
Yeah.
However, the only thing is that
out
of your 2,000 workers, only 200 are infected.
Transport herself sees everything wrong with this thing.
Because
and she made that comment.
No, but, that one is outside the preview of the PAC.
Let me move.
No.
We came up with, they have a very high cost. So we drew their attention and they mentioned this thing.
No, what are the issues at stake?
Saving...
the issue at stake for accountability here is that every year, departments, organizations, and ministries will submit their audited account to Parliament. Do you understand that?
I agree.
Now, that audited account should then be debated by Parliament and recommendations made.
Okay.
Right? Now, it is then up to government to implement those decisions. Now,
I missed the point there. Let me. All I'm saying is that the minister herself has come to say, listen, I've only got 2 trains and 2,000 workers. I could clearly manage these trains with 200 workers. People. However, the taxes that you and I pay are now paying to 1,800 people who are not doing anything.
Listen, that
minister clearly
is saying that. How many people did she or he budget for?
No, but
How many workers did she budget for?
She hasn't laid them off yet.
I say how many
workers... And she said that
workers
government hasn't got the will to lay them off.
Yeah, but you are budgeting for the people. And if you use that budget to pay the people, you haven't done anything wrong.
But if we think we can make some savings there, because
you've done everything
at the end of the PAC, the PAC wants to see to it that resources are used efficiently. even when we are checking your accounts, we want to see that the resources or the subventions, the monies that we give to you are used efficiently. And here is a case where you tell us at the end of the day, it's just 200 people that you need, and you are paying for 2,000 people.
Because it's statement. You have a driver. You have a driver. If I come to you now and I said, each of your drivers take 1 CD, or your driver takes 1 CD, right? So I take 10 CDs from you. Meanwhile, you have 1 driver. If at the end of the month you came and I said, oh yeah, there's Kofi, Amma, and I've given all them the 10 CDs, but they did not drive for you. But yes, I can account that, yes, I didn't spend the money. I gave the money to these individuals. But to you, they haven't driven for you. And in this case, a statement. But I want to move the argument to the fact that it is almost becoming a culture. Should we go back and train children like young pioneers, that brainwash them to love the country? Because we are all too detached. Even people who work within the industry are detached. I think Ministry of Agric is so far away from me. I don't care whether they buy cars or spend their money. But it all goes round to the point where they tell us that, listen, you have 5 minutes, to go in bankrupt, because World Bank says, look, you can't continue to borrow to pay. Should we implement a policy to start brainwashing children to fall in love with the country again?
No. Before I answer that question, Osei wants us to articulate our position on what the functions of the PAC are. And I'm saying that
transparency and accountability.
Listen, if a department submit a budget to Parliament for 200 workers,
but he only needs 10.
Please listen to me. For 200 workers, and you have been given the budget for 200 workers. And she spent the money properly on 200 workers. That is not in a preview of the public.
No, but she is then saying that I don't need 200 workers. There's
Therefore,
no Park saying, she's saying I don't need it.
She should not submit a budget for 200 workers.
Well, she can't sack the workers.
You can't just sack workers.
She's
like
not
that.
the
You
labor.
have to lay them off properly.
It's just to lay them off.
You have to lay them properly. But what I'm saying is that we are the work of a public account committee does not go to that direction.
That's what I
want you to accept. It is not the duty.
It is not our duty.
Exactly.
But our duty is to try and see
Plug
to it that
loopholes.
yes, and resources are used efficiently. And here is a situation where we feel resources are not being used efficiently because we feel we are just dashing out money. And it's I mean, if we can add recommendations, can we do A, B? Can you look into this or that? Because I tell you, if you look at the accounts of Ghana Railways, it's so huge a deficit.
Yeah, but that's not a duty. It's not a duty of a public account.
It is to see to it that resources are used efficiently.
Efficiently means that your budget allocation.
It is not just budget allocation.
Should be used
it is
efficiently.
not just budget allocation.
If
you fail to submit your
accounts,
we are talking it is not just a matter of...
I beg to differ on that. I beg to differ on that. If I had 10 workers and only 2 are doing the work and 8 are not doing the work, I would want to lay off 8. But in this case, the money is not. The money is coming from.
How is it the role of the public account? Whether you lay off your workers or not.
To suggest to government that government cut down, because government is paying 70% wage bill.
Cut down on
70% of our revenue is going into wages.
It's a recommendation. You see, it's a recommendation. Like
that's what I'm saying.
The government can choose to enforce that recommendation or not.
You as a minister feel that you need only 200 workers instead of 2,000. Before you submit your budget, you should make a budget for 200, not 200,000, 2,000.
So
do you understand?
What happens to the 1,008?
But if you make budget for 2,000 workers...
Finished. What's the way forward? Quickly. Just 30 seconds. Give me a way forward. Well, show us, we're out of time now.
The way forward is that, first, the Public Accounts Committee report should be implemented by government. And how does government implement this? It has been suggested that government should set up special court.
How can
to handle this?
How do we ginger them to do the court?
I won't finish. A special court will do this. But the Constitution has gone further. I think Article 187(6) is saying that Parliament shall debate the report of the Auditor General and appoint, where necessary, in a public interest, a committee to deal with any matters arising from it. Which means that in my own view, it is not only government who should see to the implementation.
Parliament to form a committee.
Parliament too should do something about it.
On you now.
So
are you going to promise as a committee to follow up your recommendation?
Options. You see,
give us a promise. Let me
if government is not doing it,
we are going to do
Parliament should do
everything
it.
possible to see to it that our recommendations, the recommendations that are accepted on the floor of Parliament, are enforced. That is what we are going to do. That is what I can promise you. And this time, I believe, this Parliament is different. And then you see.
How are you going to make sure that?
If you don't do it, I'll do it on that's my opinion. I'll take it on that's my opinion.
Okay, I hear you.
And that's the threat. Well, folks, the discussion was on how, the spirit, the idea is good. Let's, investigate how monies are spent. But once we found out that there are holes in there, we need to plug them. And that's where the question is, what do we ginger for the executive to go and plug the holes so that we don't come back the next year and say the same things again? But Abner's promise is that this Parliament is a bit frustrated, and so they would make sure that whatever recommendations they make are implemented. And myself and Koshiyedem will be happy. To my extreme left is Koshiyedem, Chairman of Forum of Former MPs, and to my immediate left, Osei Asare, MP for Etiwa East constituency and member of PAC. My name is Nana Sakwa. Tomorrow is Personality Profile, and we're talking to Angela Jamna Boaje. Very inspiring. Stay tuned.